Hey, this is Tom. This is Bill from Tokio Hotel, and we're hanging out with Rob from Front Row Live.
Bill and Tom, how's it going? It's been quite some time since we last got together and talked. Congratulations with 15-year anniversary of that hit single Monsoon. And as we go back in time and kind of like remember that creative process of that song, like how wild was it being like 15, 16 years old and like almost pretty much taking over the world with one song?
You know what? I think for us, what I always say is like the first Monsoon, I was 13 years old when I recorded it, and we were just so young and excited, and like we had no idea about the industry, about going in the studio and doing it professionally. Like we were just so innocent. And I think that was the fun. And that's kind of the essence of the song, is like you can hear we're just like so pure and like innocent, like we had no idea. And I think that's what makes this song so special. It's just like we had no idea what big of a song that could be. Like we were just,
and I think it was the key at the time too, because we were just doing music, we were just kids doing some, what we liked, and
nothing to lose.
You just go in the studio and you do your thing, and at the time no one knew, the record company didn't know, our producers didn't know, like we were just a very fresh team. No one had any experience pretty much, and it just took off like that, and it was.
But I think that's what it is. Like you can't plan success. I think that's something that just has to come, hopefully when you're doing something that you love and you're passionate about, and that's what Monsoon and the whole first record was for us. It was just, we were just four kids having so much fun with music.
The fact that you guys had that, you guys were didn't know about success, didn't know how to create success. It was just you guys were creating music as you were going. The fact that this single was so big, how were you guys able to keep that mentality when you guys started to work on the record or work on the next record, and not be like, okay, we need to do something just like Monsoon so we can get that kind of attention?
It is kind of tough because, when you start your career with a worldwide, top 10 song, what else is there to, it's like, you started off and it's mind blowing and it's amazing. But as you just said, it's like you go back.
It can't get any better.
It can't get any better.
So biggest, we are our biggest competition in a way, because we're like, what are we gonna do now? Like every song is just gonna be not as successful as the first one. So I think you have to like change perspective a little bit and just like try to, and it's tough. That's pretty tough. And also because other people and like the record company and producers, they're like, okay, like the next song should sound just like that, but just a little different. And so it's pretty tough. It's definitely a journey, and I think that's something you have to figure out as a band. And I think for us, it was good that we were a band before that. Like, we had a life before that, and we were doing music, we were making music and writing before that. So I think that helped a lot, like having that confidence, a little bit of like, looking back on like a past we had together, just playing live and making music. And I think that made
us also at the time we already recorded the majority of the song for the first album. When Monsoon came out, we already we were kind of done with the album anyway, so we were just putting out singles because we had no other choice anyway. And I think the more difficult part was to find to develop as a band over the years. Now 15 years later, I don't know how many records we even did. I think six albums. I think that's the more complicated part, like figure out your path as a band and going into the adult life, from kids to a band that's
that's pretty
up,
But I think that's like I feel like that was like the icing on the cake with you guys, because you guys were young and you grew up in the spotlight, but at the same time, because you guys were young, I feel like you grew up with your fans. So did you guys kind of notice that as you guys, as every new record kind of happened, did you guys notice, or even like the tours, did you guys notice like those same fans that were there from the beginning, you know, now they're adults just like you guys.
Yeah, and that's kind of crazy because I always say that it is just so nice that we can look back on like such a long career with the band, and we experienced the really fun times in music industry when you really sold physical records and when you became a fan of a band or an artist, and it was a lifestyle. Like there was a lifestyle choice. Like you were listening to Tokio Hotel, there was like, and there was no other band, you know, and then you still have that fan base. Like we still have these people that say like, oh my God, like I was living and breathing you guys. Like you were like all over my bedroom, and it was like,
and it was such a big deal releasing new songs, new albums. You know,
and it was just so important for like their upbringing and who they became today. And that's just, I mean, the best compliment you can get as a, because we had these bands. Like you know, for me it was Nena, like that German singer, and like, you know, because of her, I started making music and singing, and like, you know, we all had like our idols, and like to be that for somebody today is just like, that's just so flattering and crazy. Like that I'm that person, that I'm the Nena for somebody else. It's just, you know what I mean? That's just so great, and we love that these people, and they come to our shows for like nostalgia, and they're like just like, oh, we want to be, you know, 15 again. They want to hear the old
and sometimes it's crazy too, because I mean, you know, obviously you want to gain new fans as well, and you know, sometimes it's crazy. We've just played a bunch of shows in the beginning of the year. We played a bunch of shows, and we met fans there, and they're like, oh, you know, I wasn't even born when Monsoon came out, you know, the first one. So, and that kind of makes you feel old too. So it's funny, yeah.
I was actually going back into memory lane through like the old, like the original Tokio Hotel TV, and you know, I was watching, you know, when you guys first came to the States and you guys did Jimmy Kimmel, and you know, what was that experience like, knowing that, you know, one, you're a band from like way overseas, and two, it's like it's the first time you're kind of doing that transition from German lyrics to English lyrics, and then now you're on a major TV show performing in front of like American fans.
Yeah, I mean, we were freaking out. To be honest, we didn't know quite like what a big deal that was, because we came, like, we had no idea about America and American TV, and we didn't even know what show that really was. We just knew like, oh, it's a, you know, it's like another TV show.
And at the time, so much stuff was happening. It was almost like, you know, our record company was just like, oh, today we're flying to, you know, we didn't even know to what country and what TV show. So
it was just another thing in the schedule.
It was just, exactly.
But we were super, like, I know that every time we came to America, we were freaked out because we were so insecure about, like, I didn't know how to speak. And I was
our
like,
English was bad.
And I said, oh my God, like, hopefully he's not going to ask us anything. And I was very insecure with my German accent. And I was like, oh, I don't want to sound like a German idiot, like singing in English. So I think that was our main concern. Like, we were a little insecure. So every time we flew back to Europe, we felt a little more at home. Like we knew a little more of like how the whole business works. And
how big of a deal it really was, we knew when we moved to LA.
Yeah.
You know, 11 years ago. That's when we realized how big of a deal it was.
10 years later.
No, but we also knew that the VMAs, like when I remember the VMAs, and winning that award, that back then, that's when it kind of changed for us, and we were like, oh my God, like that's just crazy. Like, because we were 100% sure we are not going to win. We were just, you know, so freaked out that we're even in that category, that we're even nominated. And then, you know, with my Harry, and they were having massive hits in America at the time, and we were like, there's no way we're gonna
win. And the reaction was the same, like, we won this, and everyone in the audience was kind of like, who? Like, oh, you know?
Yeah.
That's amazing, especially like being so young. I can't imagine, like, but it's great that you guys were able to keep humble. I feel like, you know, it's hard to get that kind of attention and keep that same head, that level head. So I'm glad that you guys were able to do that. Now, you know, as we kind of look back at that original Monsoon, like, do you guys remember like what kickstarted the writing process for the song? Was it like a lyric? Was it like a melody? Was it like a sound that you guys had created? Like what started that song?
It was one lyric from Bill, and he had the line beyond in English it's beyond the world, in German was hinter die Welt, so beyond the world. And this is how the whole song started. We wrote the whole song around that one lyric. Yeah.
Because I remember that, because again, we had no idea. We were so young, and I didn't know if I had any potential even as a writer, and our songs were just so bad, you know. I never wanted to rehearse. I was just like, as soon as we had something, I was like, okay, let's go on stage, let's perform this thing.
Do this,
and then other people were like, oh, maybe you should, you know, work on this a little more. I just wanted to be out there. Like, I just wanted, like, as soon as there, like, whenever there was a stage, I was like, let's go for it.
Yeah.
And then, so our producers back in the day, he made me bring all my lyrics and all my stuff that I was writing. And I was, you know, I was so young at the time. And then he went through it and he said, oh my, like, that's so crazy. Are you like a super depressed teenager? Like the stuff I was writing. And he's like, that is so unusual for a 12-year-old to write that kind of stuff. And then he found that line, beyond the world. And he's like, how do you even think of that? And then he said, let's make something with that. Like, I have a good feeling about this. So that's how we started to develop the lyrics, and like, you know, started with that guitar, and then that's how the song came together.
That's insane. Like, it's hard to believe like that you were that old.
And we had no idea. I remember even when we finished this song, we were just like, oh yeah, that's a great song. And then when we signed our first record, or when we actually played for the first record companies, we had an EP with like 6 or 7 songs, all from the first record. And then we were, you know, playing it for them, and all these record companies, they wanted to release a different song for the first, as a first single.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody picked Monsoon first. Like, actually, in the end, it was a girlfriend of the label boss. She heard it in the car. She's like, that should be the first single. Label.
We're like, okay. You know,
so that's how it happened. Yeah.
That's amazing. So as we move forward to 2020, you guys remastered this incredible single. You know, talk to me about that creative process and how different was it making Monsoon 2020? It
was, and it still is a weird idea, to be honest, because, like, you know, I mean, Bill came actually up with it, and he's like, yeah, and, you know, we should do something special for 15 years, Monsoon, like, we have to come up with something. And then originally we wanted to make just an acoustic version of the song because we wanted to play a big show, you know,
like an
unplugged kind of thing, where we play at an amazing, like, theater outside or something like that. And then it happened. So we're like, okay, so we have to come up with something different. There's no events, like, there's no way we can pull something off like that. So we have to come up with something different. And then we're like, let's take the song and think about how it would sound if we would write the song today, you know? So we basically only took the lyrics and said, okay, let's rewrite the whole thing, you know? Let's
I wanted to do something more exciting than just, you know, do a cover version of it. I was like, let's just rethink the whole melody, and we thought, let's just only keep the lyrics, and like, what would happen if somebody would hand this to us and be like, okay, make a song of this. So that's what we did. Like, we were just like, you started with that beat and the first, you know, harmonies and stuff, and then I just started to kind of freestyle and sing on it, and then that's when we became super excited, and it took us like 15 minutes to record and lay down the first demo. And that's when we thought, like, oh yeah, that's something exciting. Like, that sounds cool. Because in between, we're like, why did we think that was a good idea?
And so it's kind of like an homage to the song. Like, we didn't want to obviously take away the original song. We love the original song. It's always going to be a part of our history. We're always going to play it on our live shows.
It's just kind of a declaration of love from our side to, you know, Monsoon, and celebrate it, and like
celebrate the song,
be it nostalgic, but also introduce the sound of our next record, you know.
And as we kind of jump onto that, like, when we last spoke, you were like in the process of writing Dream Machine. This was at the Tove Lo event, and you guys had, at the time, you guys had mentioned that, you know, it was the first time in a while that you guys started to kind of work on material on your own instead of having that, you know, that producing and that team behind you. how did that experience for that 6th album kind of impact the way that you guys are coming into the studio this time around for the 7th album?
I think it was one of the most important times for us as musicians, because we finally had the time and confidence to really do a whole record and on our own, you know. And I think creative-wise, and it was the biggest process for us as artists and songwriters.
Yeah,
you know, in that
yeah.
time.
To get, I think to get the confidence, it's kind of like we needed to close that door. And go through that process of really just being alone and think about what we love and
find the style that you want to do and find your identity
without having, you know, because all these writers, they have like their managers and their producers, and then it was
and
just,
then you have A&Rs, they always have a, you know, an idea of what you should do.
So overwhelmed with everything that we kind of needed to close all the windows and doors and be like, okay, it's just us now. And now we're slowly opening back up, and we're like, okay, let's, you know, sit down with like some people that we think are amazing and that we have a vibe with. Actually, we just sat down today. We're setting up some, you know, writing sessions with some people that we love, that make songs where we're like, wow, that's cool. Like, we want to meet that guy. So I think that's kind of like the process we needed to go through. But I think Dream Machine is forever going to be one of the most important records we ever made. Like, just for us as musicians, like Tom said.
And as you guys are jumping into the studio with producers, like, I know, Bill, in the past, you've mentioned that, you know, your dynamics in the studio or in the creative process are different. Like, Tom can sit there and create for hours, and then you have to have an idea before you actually say, hey, let's record this. So, like, now that, you know, you're bringing in producers again and you're bringing in teams, how does that dynamic change?
I don't know. because it always depends on who that person is, you know. Sometimes it's like we had experiences like back in the days when we were working on actually the Kings of Suburbia album, which was our last record with Universal, and we met a bunch of people that were great, that it was just amazing to work with them. Super easy. It was cool. It's like no ego. And then you have some people that you work with where it's just a nightmare, you know, especially like, you know, figuring out you know, splits who's writing what, and then you have all these egos in the room, like everyone wants to push through his idea, and it's becoming complicated, you know. And so it always depends. So we are really careful right now in picking the people that we want to work with and that are actually cool to work with.
First of all, you need to want to hang out with them.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, if you are cool with them hanging out and just having a beer or a glass of wine, and then I think, you know, I think that's what needs to happen first in order for us to be confident and comfortable 100%. To like write a song. Because I think that's mostly like I need to like people. Like I can't just,
and vice versa too. I mean, I think, you know, writing songs is such a creative process, and being in the studio together and record music, that you have to get along 100%. Otherwise, it's not going to be cool, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, now you guys have a brand new signing. So it's definitely a new chapter of Tokio Hotel. What is this chapter all about? What can fans expect? Like, what is that mindset for this upcoming album?
Just from a perspective, I think what fans can expect is that we're gonna be out there a lot more. I mean, because like, you know, signing with Sony and with a big major again, like, we wanted to do this just because we want to put the music also on another level, international, and be able to release worldwide simultaneously at the same time again, and be out there for everyone, you know, kind of like without having to travel obviously to every country, but have the platform to release the music and have the attention worldwide, you know. And I think that's what the fans can expect, that we're going to put out a lot of singles. Like we just talked about this, we want to push a lot of songs out, you know, before releasing a whole album. We're just going to release one song after another. I mean, there's going to be, this year it's going to be at least one more song that we're going to put out, and then next year, in the beginning of the year, we already know we have 5-6 more songs that we're going to push out as singles. And so there's music coming your way a lot.
Yeah, we just have a very, very busy schedule.
Yeah.
Definitely excited for that.
Obviously,
no,
it's
totally.
going to be promotion, stuff like that. Lots of video shoots and stuff. Tomorrow we're going to record an acoustic performance where we made some very special versions of 2 of the upcoming songs. So that's going to be special, and you know, stuff like that. And then obviously we're planning on a tour again as well, because at some point we want to be out there again and hopefully can do it in a safe way. And so we are kind of like aiming for an end of next year, but obviously no one knows right now at the time. I mean, it's super hard obviously to plan, but yeah, I mean, at some point obviously we're going to be out there again as well.
That's amazing. Well, I can't wait for that. And, you know, congratulations with 15 years of you know, career. I like, that's not a lot of artists can say that today. I feel like it's hard to keep that that machine just going for so long, especially with the ups and downs. So congratulations with that. And before we close, I'm curious, is there still that obsession with David Hasselhoff?
I mean, for Georg, I'm pretty sure he's still a big fan. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's funny. I've seen him. He's actually still doing a bunch of stuff in Germany. Funny enough, it's
did we not run into him at one point?
We did, and then we asked him if he would change his jacket and take Georg's belt. So Georg can take his jacket and the belt, but he didn't want to do it. So, but yeah, he's
maybe
still,
one day.
One day.
Well, maybe this time you guys can actually have him on a video.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
He should. I mean, he can't travel right now. He lives in America.
I mean, yeah, but Germany for sure. So.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you again for taking the time. It's always great reuniting with you guys, and hopefully next time we can actually do this in person.
Yes. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, man.